they tried to get a game away. They're young, but man, they are playing great, and they're going to be a 5 or 6 seed in the West.
They have won 7 in a row.
Yep.
For the first time since 2004.
Wow. First of all, I don't want y'all talking about the Kings. When I say they're going to make the playoffs, y'all
No, we asked you to play in the playoffs. We asked you to play in the playoffs.
I asked you. I said,
We said playoffs to play in.
yeah, but y'all said they weren't going to make it.
I don't. What?
Get off the bandwagon.
Seed already?
No, 5 or 6.
That's all I'm saying. Get off the bandwagon.
Only team in the West to score 100 in every game.
Wow.
Only 2 teams in the East have done it. Can you name them? Atlanta.
Light that beam. Light that beam.
Oh, please stop.
Hey, lighten that beam even when
Light
they're
that
on the
beam.
road.
Come on, man.
They're on the road and they're lighting it back at their place.
Well, what
Can we get a beam here at TNT?
So they got a fool to just hang out there when they're on the road too?
Are they for real?
I think they are for real. They just have to love this, trust it, and continue to go with it. The fact that they almost let the game slip away, but they still had moments to help them win, that's big for them. So this 7-game win streak, hopefully they don't get the fat cat-itis and, start thinking they're better than they are. Just the way they've been playing, bottle that up.
Highest scoring team in the NBA at 121 a game.
I mean, for me, teams like Sacramento, I judge after All-Star break.
What are you talking about,
Because
Kenny?
it is a marathon to be consistent in the NBA, and it's very difficult. It's having
After the
streaks,
All-Star
7
break,
games,
though?
win, lose, could happen. But to be consistent and win 6 out of every 10 games minimum is a hard thing to do in the NBA. So I usually, wait for my judgment till after All-Star.
Well, I'm all in on the Kings for a couple reasons. Number one, they got a lot of talent. But the main thing, I think Coach Brown brought them stability.
Yep.
He's been around a long time, man. And I think he's bringing some of that Golden State mentality with him, because Golden State has one of the best organizations. Bob Myers, I think he's passed R.C. Buford and Sam Presti as the best general manager in the NBA. And, man, Mike Brown's doing a hell of a job.
They're in Atlanta on Wednesday night. They're in Boston on Friday as the road trip continues.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the King's Court podcast, presented to you by SacktownRoyalty.com and sponsored by RateCrushers.com. Everyone go to RateCrushers.com for all of your insurance needs. What we just watched was the TNT clip of the Inside the NBA crew talking about the Sacramento Kings after they beat the Memphis Grizzlies 113-109 on the road in Memphis. If you hear a bunch of loud noises, for some reason now when the show starts is when my dogs decide it's time to play. I guess that's what they decided to do. And I apologize for all that noise in the background, but look at the bottom, guys. It's time once again to light that beam. You know what I mean? So we're gonna let me take care of these dogs real quick. 1 second. Round 2, light the beam. Can't beat live shows, guys. You really can't. A lot of things, random things happen. But you know what? One more time, let's light the beam. Sacramento Kings make it 7 in a row in Memphis. They get through the grind city of the Memphis Grizzlies, squeaking it out. And with that win, it has garnered so much national attention. This 7-game win streak is really earning the respect outside of Sacramento, and it has been so much fun to watch and listen to people talk about this team. And a lot of this show today is going to be about just that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to this clip here that I have of the Low Post had Matt Barnes on, and they're talking about Mike Brown, his impact on this team, and how much he has made this Kings team better.
An identity, but I've been completely wrong with that. Happily, completely wrong with that. And every time I talk to the players, Zach, the one thing they say is Mike this, Mike that, Mike this, which means I know these guys are buying in. So that was a lot, but happy for the team and definitely heading in the right direction.
It was long overdue for Mike Brown to get another chance at head coach. And what's really interesting is the rep on him was good defensive coach. He'll grind it. He wants to grind the game down. He'll install a system. He'll get everyone to run that system. Very basic. And I was like, that's exactly what the Kings need. Just like, here are the rules. Follow the rules. And like you said with Fox, man, we've been waiting on this from Fox for 3 years. At the end of the 18-19 season, when the Kings seemed to have something going, Dave Yeager was the coach. They started playing well. Like, Bagley and Giles were playing well. Healed, Bogdanovich. I loved Fox. I loved his spirit. He seemed to be ready for a leadership role, and then it just didn't happen. His defense didn't come, and now it's here. But the rap on Mike Brown was uncreative offensive coach. Boring, sludgy, ISO, whatever offense, just uncreative. And I wonder if all that time with the Warriors has sort of shaped him into the head coach he's sort of destined to be at the peak of his game, because the half-court offense – I don't know if I would describe it as intricate, but there's a lot going on. There's like
They're not
two
just
guys
standing
curling
still.
off screens at the same time on opposite sides of the floor. There's flare screens. And to me, Matt, the thing that stands out, and you can talk more about why this matters, they run everything full speed. Like
Yeah, they
the
do.
cuts, the initial catch and go drives, the screens, the burst and the energy and like the ferocity with which they do that stuff. It jumps out of the screen. They are playing half-court offense fast, and we don't often talk about the pace of half-court offense, but
Right.
they are just hitting people hard. Have you noticed that too? Like, and why does that matter?
Yeah, this Kings team is definitely hitting people hard. Again, if you guys are hearing the dogs in the background, for some reason they decided this is the time to play. So I do apologize for a little bit of that background noise. I got a brand new puppy, so all the dogs want to play with each other. But again, yeah, that's just Zach Lowe talking about, the Sacramento Kings and how strong they've been playing with this young team. And it's amazing that so many people outside of Sacramento are finally starting to take notice of that. Again, I'm going to take care of these dogs here. Give me one more second, guys. I apologize. I normally have them taken care of. I really do. Again, for those who are joining in late, welcome to the King Square podcast presented to you by SacktownRoyalty.com. I'm your host today. My name is Vince Miracle. You guys can follow me on all social media platforms of @VM Center, as you guys can see there on the bottom right. We got some people already joining in the chat. You know what I mean? Look at that. The Beam team is shining bright. Look at us go, guys. And look who made it in right on time. Skip is here in the chat. It's funny how we were running a version of the Princeton offense again, just like the best show on court. RIP to Coach, what was that? Pete Carroll. Yeah, for sure. Look at we talked about this early in the offseason, right? When I had Coach Nick on from B-Ball Breakdown, we talked about how this was going to be something that we are seeing from this team. This was going to be something that we were going to have to keep our eye on, because we believe that's what the type of offense that he was going to bring here into Sacramento. And it's definitely something that they've brought. And again, I think it's very interesting to see that all of these other outside media sources are finally starting to recognize this Kings team. And you have to, when they're putting up historical numbers. The number one offense since the 1984 Denver Nuggets. That's how long it has been since you've seen an offensive powerhouse like the Sacramento Kings have been. This Beam team is something real. And it's something so much fun to watch every single night. Again, going into Memphis, where Ja Morant comes from being questionable into now playing in that game, and then seeing that matchup, come to fruition of De'Aaron Fox versus Ja Morant, and seeing their back and forth and how good these guys are. And man, are these guys good. They play a similar game, and it did come down to those two making plays to see if their team was going to win. De'Aaron Fox was that guy. We got to be honest. He made a bonehead move, though, fouling Ja on that three. Made a bonehead move. The Kings did everything they could to give away that game in Memphis. They did everything they could, but they stuck it out. They squeaked it out. They got a big win there in the Grind City. And again, it was so much fun to watch De'Aaron Fox finishes that game again with 32 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 big steals. I mean, I remember when everyone was talking about benching Harrison Barnes. Bench Harrison Barnes, bench Harrison Barnes. Look where he is now. You give a veteran time. I told you those shots were open. I told you that if it was any other player, you would not have been talking about Harrison Barnes going to the bench. And now look, time is starting to come in on him a little bit. His shot's starting to fall down. He's starting to find his rhythm. This guy is putting on a show. Gets 26 points with 4 rebounds in that game. He's being the great third option. And that's exactly what this Kings team needed him to be. He was never a number 2. Never a number 2. When he came to Sacramento, he had to be that player because of the things that he's capable of doing. Now he's using those capabilities and taking over in certain situations, but playing his game and playing within the flow of the offense. 26 points, 4 rebounds for Harrison Barnes. Domantas Sabonis is literally doing everything. He is the motor of this team. I know everyone likes to say it's De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, and I love his comments from the other night when they got the win. I believe it was against, I think it might have been the Warriors, when someone asked him if he was still believed that he was the fastest player in the league. No, it was against the Pistons, actually. If he was the fastest player in the league, he's like, I don't really care about that label. I really don't care about that label. And you know what? It's because he doesn't need to use it all the time. He has it there as a capability. It's not necessarily a thing he always has to go to. And that has been something that I think he has really started to do this season more so than any other season. The game has finally started to slow down for De'Aaron Fox. And he's utilizing that speed in certain times. The game winner in Orlando. That fast break against the Detroit Pistons to get a dunk on rookie Jaden Ivey. So when I say Domantas Sabonis is the motor of this team, it's because a lot of the half-court offensive sets run through Sabonis. Those hard screens give so much space to shooters and to drivers because of how he does his handoffs. Domantas Sabonis finishes the game with 9 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists. He could not get a whistle, though. I don't know what it is about referees, and they think that a big man doesn't get fouled. I don't care that he's bigger than a guard. If they're slapping him, it is a foul. Blow that man a whistle a little bit. Kevin Huerter keeps shooting the lights out of the ball. 18 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 big steals from him as well. Big game from him. He went 4 of 7 from three-point range. Just a solid game from him. And then Mr. Band-Aid, Mr. Nelly, Malik Monk, off the bench, plays 23 minutes and gets 14 points with 4 assists. Again, a big step up in his game was the ability to start facilitating the basketball. And it was on Coach Brown and his staff to talk to him about becoming that facilitator, not just always looking to be the scorer. And he's starting to grow a nice rapport with Sabonis in those pick and rolls. And that's been something so fun to see. And the crazy thing is his confidence is so high that you're seeing him make quick decisions even when he's in the air. And I'm not saying I like those plays, but last night, shot clock going down against the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, coming down on the clock, he drives into the basket, jumps in the air, doesn't have the angle, sees Harrison Barnes open in the corner for a three-point shot, finds him, gets him the ball, gets him that basket. That was an incredible play there by Malik Monk. He has just been tremendous off the bench. Anything you can get off the bench from these guys, like a 10 minutes, 10 points for Chimezi Metu was solid. I think the defensive presence is more important than the stat sheet that you get from a guy like from a guy like Davion Mitchell. And that's fine. I mean, there was a moment in that game where Malik Monk was in the game to close out the game in the fourth quarter. And Brown said, no, we need defense. They took him out. They put in Davion Mitchell. So Davion is starting to find his role within this team. I just don't think it's going to be at the point where people thought he was going to be, where you thought he was going to score 12 to 13 points per game and get you a couple of assists. The player that you saw at the end of last season when he was putting up big numbers. But again, those numbers were on teams and in games that didn't matter. And you had to take that into consideration. That's why I wasn't so high on Davion coming into this season. You can check the old shows about it. I was not that high on him. But he's finding his role. And I think that's the one big thing that you can talk about. Again, Zach Lowe just said it on that clip that I just showed. They needed someone to come in here and say, this is what we're doing. This is how you run it and play it this way. They have a coach now that has a nice 10-man rotation. He's not messing with it. For those who saying now bench Keegan Murray because he's struggling a little bit, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This Kings team is working because they have a coach that they believe in. They have a coach that has a system and a mindset of this team that works. And they're getting respect around the league. You guys saw the Kevin Durant clip that I posted here on this channel. If you guys haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button of Kevin Durant talking about the Kings on his show, The Boardroom, and the praise that he's giving him. He named off almost everybody. But then even after a loss last night, John Morant talking about De'Aaron Fox.
What's the matchup like when you're going against, De'Aaron Fox, two of two of the most explosive, fastest point guards, all that stuff. But when you get on the floor, just what have you noticed about his game? And just, I'm sure you wanted to get back to really play in this game yourself.
I don't guard him. So I feel like that question is more for DB. But, just speaking on his talents, I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, he's been here, before me. A guy, I had to watch with, pretty much similar games with, fast, getting downhill, able to create for, not only ourselves but others. And it's been good, actually, watching him, this season, how he's taking his game to that next level and actually, being that guy, for this Kings team and, willing them to, wins. Even with his play tonight, he played, very well. And I feel like, the team pretty much go off him. And he's been a great leader over there, and all respect and credit goes to him for being that guy for them.
All credit goes to De'Aaron Fox. Again, it's the little things, man. It is literally just this team believing in what Coach Mike Brown is doing, because you have all the players coming out and talking about Mike Brown says this about me, like Mike Brown tells me I need to work on this, and you saw that throughout the entire training camp. And that was the one thing I continue to preach the entire time throughout training camp and heading into the preseason was it seemed as if these Kings players were coming out publicly and addressing things that they needed to work on. Before a question was even asked during media scrums, it was, I was clamping down on De'Aaron Fox or on Malik Monk. Let's just Fox about Monk. I was clamping down on Malik Monk. You can ask him about my defense. Malik Monk talking about, I would doze off at times when I was off ball. And I need to be better at that. No one asked him that question. Those were things that were just said. It's because I believe that they wanted to put a mirror to their game and say, this is me. This is what I need to work on. And they've addressed almost all of that. Again, there's a lot of flaws that they still need to work on. The Sacramento Kings team is not good defensively at all. They're still ranked 27th. This is exactly where they were last season, the bottom of the league. So there's definitely still improvement for this team. But this offense is ridiculous. They've believed in what Mike Brown is showing to them, and they're playing at such a speed that is almost unstoppable for any team. They keep you on your heels at all times. Like Zach Lowe said, even in the half court, they are going so fast. No one talks about half court speed. The Kings are talking about half court speed. The Kings has the media talking about half court speed. You got to give them that respect, man. This Kings team is really good. And I love... I've been covering this team for a long time, and this is the most fun I think I've ever had covering this team, for sure, 100%. But now the road trip ain't over. You had a grinded-out game in the grind city of Memphis last night, and now the Sacramento Kings are facing off against the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta tonight, the day before Thanksgiving. This is going to be a tough game, and we're going to talk about all of that and more right after this commercial break from Rate Crushers. Welcome back. 15-second break. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too wild. Man, how much fun is this Kings team? If you guys are liking this Kings team and you're liking the way they're playing, please do me a huge favor. Hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate every single one of you who are joining us here live on the show. If you guys want to call on in and give me your thoughts on this team, I would love to hear from you. Love to hear the excitement. Go ahead and click that link that I posted down in the comments section below. But you guys saw the title of this show. Who would you rather have? Trae Young or De'Aaron Fox? Because this is the matchup I've been waiting for. Because it's not even just Trae Young or De'Aaron Fox. It's DeJounte Murray over there. You know what I mean? Like, this is a battle out type of game. I'm excited. That's why it's going to be our game of the week.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
Look, guys, the Sacramento Kings are heading into Atlanta. 7-game win streak, looking to make it 8. And it is a very tough matchup. This Atlanta Hawks team is coming off of a big clutch win over the Toronto Raptors, where in the closing seconds of that game, man, was it fun. Back and forth it went, and then Toronto scores a basket to tie the game, potentially sending it to overtime after an OG Anunoby free throw. And then Trae Young just sees that the entire Toronto team is pushed up. His basketball IQ is so smart. Grabs the ball, pushes it up court. There's no one down on the other side except for one guy, the Rook. What's his name? Green. They throw it to him. Griffin, AJ Griffin. They throw it to him. Bang, basket, game over. What a win for the Atlanta Hawks. So they're coming in on a high. They're expected to play with high intensity. They did not play yesterday like the Sacramento Kings did. And with that, these odds are brought to you by DraftKings.com. The Atlanta Hawks are 4.5-point favorites heading into tonight's matchup. And this is where everything comes down to. And I expected this team to be the favorite. I expected the home team to be the favorite. Automatic. So those who don't know, when you're betting, automatically right off the get, as a home team, you automatically get 3 points. Then you bring into record, then you bring into momentum, you bring into yada, 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 the defense stuff, whatever. And that's why these are going to be my Who Dat stats of the week.
You play to win the game. Not a game. Not a game. Hello? You have to know these things when you're a king, you know?
Look, you have to know these things if you are the Kings, you know. And the number one thing they need to know is that this Atlanta Hawks team gets into you defensively. Now, I get it. Sometimes it does look like that Trae Young cannot play any defense, and I know that that is a fact. But Clint Capella has starting to put it back on this month. After only averaging 8 points, 8 rebounds, and I believe 1 block per game all of last month through the month of November, this man is averaging a double-double with multiple blocks per game. He is a beast on the boards, and he is going to be a handful for Domantas Sabonis. He is going to need to get him into foul trouble early, and then it comes down to those guards. De'Aaron Fox versus Trae Young. Look, Trae Young has been amazing in terms of just his scoring ability throughout his entire NBA career, his early NBA career. But it has not been to the level that it normally is when you think of a Trae Young and De'Aaron Fox matchup. Because with Trae Young, while he has been fantastic, he is on the season only shooting 39% from the field. He's still averaging 27 points and 9.5 assists, but 39% from the field. Now, I'm not saying this is a player that you should give open looks to by any means. If you get this guy rolling, he is going to be putting up numbers, and he's going to be putting up numbers in a hurry. But 39% from the field, it shows that he can be bothered. It shows that he can get cold just as quick as he can get hot. But 39% from the field, De'Aaron Fox is shooting 55.5% from the field. I'm just gonna compare the two. Who would you rather have? You let me know in the comment section below. Who would you rather have out of these two players? From the free throw line, Fox is getting to the line 5.1 times per game, where Trae Young is getting to the line 8 times per game. So that is something that you're also going to want to look out for. Trae, better free throw shooter, 88.5%. Fox, 84.4%. But let's get into the nitty gritty. 3 points. 3-pointers, right? Everyone's going to say Trae Young obviously is the better 3-point shooter. He's known as that shooter. 2.2 3-pointers per game. De'Aaron Fox, 2.1. De'Aaron Fox is hitting threes this season. If you don't know, now you know. This guy is hitting shots. He's shooting it at 36%, just under his career high, but it's up there with the most he's ever taken in per game. I take that into consideration. It's his best shooting performance of his entire career at 36% from three-point range. So 2.2 3-pointers made per game for Trae Young to 2.1 to De'Aaron Fox. 27.2 points per game for a Trae Young to a 25.9 for a De'Aaron Fox. 5 rebounds for Fox, 3 rebounds for Trae Young, 9.5 assists to the 6.4, but then everything else defensively leans towards Fox, the 1.3 steals, the almost a half a block per game, and then only turning the ball over 2.6 times. Trae Young is giving up 3.5, a full turnover more per game. And this is where the Kings are going to really have to buckle down because the Hawks will give you opportunities to stay in this game. They're a team that loves to turn over the basketball. They do it consistently. Pick and rolls, they kind of lose their guy. They always try to do a lot of isolation with a bailout pass, and the Kings have been really reading on those outlet passes when it comes to an isolation play and then trying to find the corner guy for the 3. The Kings have really started to pick that up. I think they're going to run a lot of zone today. If they run zone today, they will definitely have a better chance of winning in this game and letting anybody else away from Trae beat you. This is going to be a game where you're going to want to blitz Trae Young. This may be a game that you see the same defensive mindset that they used against the Brooklyn Nets and against the Golden State Warriors, where they ran at Steph Curry and basically did a box and one the entire game so that this entire defense can find ways to shift and get to and close out on the shooters. But they want to congest the lane, and they do not want to let Trae Young be the guy that beats them. And there's an argument could be made that DeJounte Murray has been the guy for Atlanta this season because he has been phenomenal. That fit was seamless. But it is also one of those things where I think the Kings are going into each one of these games with a game plan and they're executing it to a T. And this is going to be a game where they're going to need to do that as well. So look, the Sacramento Kings, we've talked about it plenty of times. They're ranked 27th. Yesterday, when we did the show, they were ranked 28th. So after last night's performance, they moved up one whole spot. They're now sitting at 27th at a 113.3 rating. The Atlanta Hawks are sitting alone at 15th at a 109.5. Both teams giving up a ton of points. Both teams, again, they're not the best on the defensive end, but one team likes to give up the ball a bit more than the other. Offensively, the Kings are sitting with the number 1 offense in the league, where the Atlanta Hawks, and I told you, this is a team that likes to turn over the ball quite a bit. They're sitting at 19th in offensive efficiency. They're just inside the top 20. They're gonna give you opportunities to stay in it. In that Toronto game, look, there was no Pascal, there was no Gary Trent Jr., there was OG Anunoby, and there was Freddie VanVleet, and there was Scotty Barnes. Again, that's a great trio. But when you have your full team, your full arsenal of weapons, and you're going up against a hobbled, and by the way, Freddie VanVleet was questionable heading into that game. So you have your full arsenal of weapons, and you have a hobbled, limping in Toronto team, and they almost beat you. That's how you know that this team is giving you opportunities to stay in it. And the turnover department, guess what? Like I said, this team, it shows that they give up the least amount, but they give it up in the most crunch time. 11.1, they're the best in the league in terms of turnovers, but again, they give up the ball in the worst times. But so are the Kings. The Kings do Kings things in the fourth quarter. Like I said, they tried to give away the game yesterday. But don't let me turn you down, guys. Light the beam. You know what I mean? I don't want to say anything bad. I don't want to say anything bad about this team. I don't want to say anything bad about this team. Light that beam. Light that beam. But I want to hear from you guys. They are 4.5-point underdogs. Look, I don't want to be the person that says it, but I feel like I gotta be. I don't know if the Kings are coming out of Atlanta with this one. This is a very, very tough matchup. After going through such a battle in the West, in Memphis, you had to grit that out till the very end. To now fly to Atlanta to be one of the first games of the night. 4.5 points seems good. Like, the Kings against the spread this season have been amazing. They've been amazing. They've made me some money. I will be honest. Again, these odds are brought to you by DraftKings.com. Show sponsored by Sacktown Royalty. Let me know what you guys have. Are you taking the 4.5 points? Go ahead and click the link in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys are with me and thinking that this is arguably going to be the toughest game of their road trip because it's the second night of a back-to-back. It's right before the holiday. The Kings are running in on a high, though. Again, yeah, Skip, look at that. Bonehead move by far. by Ja for missing that free throw and doing a lane violation on the force. Yeah, I mean, it's a bonehead move on both sides, though. He should have never been to the line to even tie the game, if we're being honest. You know what I mean? Here's the link, guys. You guys see it down in the chat. You guys can click that link and join in on the conversation. If you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor and hit that thumbs up button. And if you are new to this show, please do me another huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Get us circulating in the algorithm of YouTube. We are going to be having a new iTunes stream now that, so behind the scenes stuff, the podcast for Sacktown Royalty was up, but I couldn't upload anything to it because it would go to a different feed from the previous people that were here. So there was a bit of an issue. That's why you haven't seen anything posted on iTunes. So I'm sorry to those who listen to the show on iTunes and everything like that had to transition here to YouTube and are getting like the clips of it and everything like that. I do apologize to you guys, but we are working on it. The new stream should be up as early as tomorrow. So tomorrow it should be up, and then you should start seeing a bunch of backloaded episodes on that new stream, and then you'll see it every single time in the description below if you guys are love to be iTunes listeners and things like that. And if you guys can do us a huge favor, because it is a new stream, go over there, subscribe to it on iTunes, leave a good rating, whatever rating you, good or bad. Let me know what you guys would like to see more so on this show so that, we can get that rating up. I listen to all comments and everything like that, and I appreciate every single one of you that joined this show. And by the end of this show, I will tell you how we're going to give away tickets to an upcoming game. Looking down the line here for today, while I'm waiting for you guys to know, I want to see what you guys think. Again, the Kings 4.5-point underdogs. These odds are brought to you by DraftKings.com. Looking around the league today, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off against the Indiana Pacers. As of last night, this was a pick'em. They are now 2-point favorites in this game. The Minnesota Timberwolves on the road are 2-point favorites. Look, I'm taking them at -130. I'm very surprised at how well Tyrese Halliburton has this Pacers team with, a few people missing, and they're still playing pretty good basketball. And it's been fun to watch. So I applaud Tyrese Halliburton in the play that he's had. But again, the size down low, the Karl Anthony Towns against a Miles Turner, I'm always going to lean on Towns. And I think for me, it's just talent always wins by the end of the day. And when you have D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, and Karl Anthony Towns, that's going to be the team that squeaks it out. But this Timberwolves team just sometimes don't make no sense. I don't understand how they keep these teams lingering around. They were destroying the 76ers by like 25. Next thing I know, I turn on the TV and I look up and, man, there they are in a 4-point game. Anthony Edwards gets stolen. That's about to be a tie game, and he had to get a block, and then, oh, my God, that was chaotic. It was chaotic. It was crazy. But I do like the Minnesota Timberwolves money line there. Also, yesterday, if you guys followed NBA Best Bets, this is the NBA Best Bets segment, by the way. If you guys followed yesterday, we had 4 games on the docket. We went 2-1-1. So we had 2 winners, 1 loss, and 1 tie. The push was the Lakers +10. We hit on the Kings money line. We hit on the Pistons +5.5. And how about them Pistons? I told you they go on stretches. They go on stretches with scoring, and then they did that. And I was very surprised because at the time, Jokic and Jamal Murray were listed as doubtful, like most likely not going to play. And they came in and played, and they still covered that spread. The Pistons is playing gritty. Bojan Bogdanovic is ridiculous. The loss was the Nets, and how ugly was that loss? How ugly was that loss? How do they bounce back now against the Toronto Raptors today? We'll go look at those odds in just a moment. And then obviously the Lakers with +10 against the Phoenix Suns. They literally match it 105-115 yesterday. So again, first game on the docket is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Pacers. We are taking the Timberwolves at -130 on the money line. The 76ers are 4.5-point underdogs to the Charlotte Hornets. Honestly, guys, I would avoid this game. There's too many question marks, obviously, with everybody but Tobias Harris playing. It's hard to really judge what they're going to do, and especially against the Brooklyn Nets team that's been struggling all season. They've been literally struggling all season, so it's hard for me to want to say it's the Sixers here, because if Ball plays and there's just too many question marks. So I would avoid that game 100%. The Portland Trail Blazers are limping into Cleveland. The Cavs are 7-point underdogs. I honestly like the Cavs -7 here. They have so many weapons. They can rebound very well. This team, they went on a little bit of a skid, but I believe in the talent of this team. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are a really good basketball team when they're hitting on all cylinders. Could it be close in the beginning? Yes, but I do believe that the Cavs are going to cover the spread -7 for sure. The Brooklyn Nets, wow, look, so they're 2.5-point underdogs heading into Toronto. Again, the Raptors still being without Pascal Siakam. Oh, man, this is a game. Look, so if I do the research of this game, right, it would tell me that you want to go with the Raptors. Nets are consistently struggling on rebounding the basketball. The counter to that, though, is that while they are getting Chris Boucher back, I'm not really fearful of the Raptors down low for rebounding when you have a Kevin Durant and you have a Ben Simmons and things like that down low. It's a tough call, and obviously being a pick'em, you can go either way on it. I mean, plus 2.5 is whatever. So for me, like, this is where I like to go for my money, and this is where this will be my most live in-game bet, and this is how you can always play on both sides. So here's a little fun fact for you guys that are just now dipping your toe into the betting world. So when you see a game that's 3 points or less on a spread, there's a way that you can play both sides of the ball and come out winners on both sides. The first way is that you're going to take the Brooklyn Nets plus 120, and this is only if you want to hedge your bet. Take the Brooklyn Nets plus 120. That's what I'm going to do. Obviously, plus 120 means if you bet $100, you get $120 back plus your $100. I like that here. I mean, you're making money on a pick'em game. It's a game that they're definitely going to try and want to win heading into a Thanksgiving break. And then you watch that whole first quarter. You don't make another bet until that first quarter ends. You take the underdog here. You see where it goes. If the Nets go on a run and they go up by 8 at the end of the first quarter, this is where you can now lean on the Toronto Raptors. And then that's how you can hedge your bet. You can have both sides for plus money. There's a little fun fact for one of your little pick'ems. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna just go with one side, I think the money's there, the talent is there, the need for a win is there. Offensively, they have all the weapons to score. Defensively, rebounding wise, I'm leaning everything else towards the Raptors. This is purely a bet where you're saying Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons need to win a game. They're 2-6 when all three of them are on the floor together. They're 2-6. They need to find ways to win. A hobbled Toronto Raptors team after losing to a Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Hardenless Sixers team, this is a must-win for this team if they're ever going to be considered a true playoff contender when that time comes around. They're 2-6 when the trio is on the court. They need to rebound. They need to box out. They need to play with some real tenacity. Like they're playing soft. I'm just being honest. But you take that plus money because the money's there. Play both sides of it. See if they can go on a run. You can honestly hedge your bet here and find ways to make money. Next up, you have the Dallas Mavericks as plus 4.5-point underdogs on the road in Boston with a questionable tag on Jason Tatum. Look, this is a really good game. And I would be pretty surprised if you saw Jason Tatum sit out on this game. Mainly just due to the fact that, again, it's going to be a Thanksgiving break here. So he's going to get a little bit of time off. I like the Celtics minus 4.5. If you are capable of buying a full point, I would buy the full point because I can see this team only winning by 4. So I would buy the point if you could. But I do like the Boston Celtics in this matchup, especially if everyone plays. But man, Luka's gross. Don't be surprised if anything happens. Luka is gross. But I do like, if you can buy the full point, make it minus 3.5, and you have the Boston Celtics here, I do like that a lot. The Washington Wizards are in a pick'em game against a injured Miami Heat team. And when are the Heat never not injured during the regular season, man? They really are always injured. But again, the Wizards are plus 1.5-point underdogs against the Heat. This is another game where I'll probably be avoiding it or be another in-game better here where I'll take the Wizards at the money line, see how that goes, especially if Bradley Beal is going to play. He went through limited shoot-around earlier today. That was already reported. He was there. The expectation is that he is going to try to give it a go. No official word yet on if that will happen. But I do like the plus money here. I know that the Heat are really good at home. They have a lot of good talent on that team regardless of who plays. They play their system, they play it well, and they play it hard. This is a good team. And there's a questionable tag on Tyler Hero. So you could get Tyler Hero back. You could see Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and Kyle Lowry on the floor together for the first time in a while. 2 weeks, I believe. That'd be the first time that you see all three of them together on the floor. So that'd be interesting. But they have already ruled out Jimmy Butler for this game. Again, that's a game you avoid. If you do anything, you're going to make it more of a in-game type of situation. Another game I'm avoiding, and it's mainly just due to the fact that the Bulls can be so unknown, and it's the Chicago Bulls versus the Milwaukee Bucks, as the Milwaukee Bucks are 7-point favorites in this game. Look, it's a good game. It's probably going to be one of the game of the nights for most people, just due to the fact that there's going to be a lot of high-powered offense on both sides of the ball. You're going to see a lot of high flying from Zach LaVine, a lot of scoring. I think the Bulls have all of the weapons to keep up in any matchup. Their defense is horrible. They do not know how to stop stars. They can make stops. They can go on runs where they're making good stops. But when a star decides to take over, they have no answer. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is arguably the best and most dominant player in the league right now. So I understand why they're the favorites. And they're at home. And they have Drew Holiday. I think it's a lot of points. That's the big thing for me. I'm gonna avoid this game because, look, man, the Bulls have the weapons, but the Bulls are so unknown. They're such a big question mark. They need to continue to build a consistency for me to where I figure out what type of team they are. And I just haven't put my finger on them yet. After that, you have the Sacramento Kings against the Atlanta Hawks. We talked about them, I think, quite a bit here on this show. I'm leaning more as a Fox guy than a Trae Young guy, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that because shooting is such a big factor in this league to where it's like, hey, Trae Young would always be the person I would choose, but De'Aaron Fox has taken such a huge step forward in this season, and could it just be a stretch? Maybe. Am I being a little biased because I'm here in Sacramento and I watch every single game and I get to be around people that are around this team consistently and talk about this team consistently? Look, maybe. But there's things that De'Aaron Fox can do that Trae can't. And the things that Trae could do that was better than De'Aaron Fox, it was three-point shooting and passing. Now, his passing is never going to be to the level of Trae Young. Trae Young is just a great facilitator, and Fox is a good orchestrator of offense, especially the offense is based around him. But if you're looking at just purely shooting and passing, I mean, Fox has upgraded his shooting, 36% from three-point range. And his passing is, I mean, he does his job as a passer. I like De'Aaron Fox currently right now. If I had to choose between the two of who is better, I'm going to go off recency bias. 7-game win streak. I'm going to say, like that beam. You know what I mean? I'm taking De'Aaron Fox in that matchup right there, guys. But look, plus 4.5. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a game I'm probably avoiding. I'm rooting for the Sacramento Kings. I don't want to be the guy that says that the train ends here, the win train ends here, that the beam goes out right before Thanksgiving. It's a tough game. I like the points, if anything. Take the points. It's almost 5 points. Buy a point if you can. It's a tough matchup. Very tough matchup. But the Hawks will let you stay in this game. And that's the one thing you got to like if you're the Kings. Next up, you have the Denver Nuggets as underdogs. I'll repeat that again. A Nikola Jokic back, Jamal Murray back. Denver Nuggets team are the underdogs to a very interesting, very spicy, very fun Oklahoma City Thunder team. Man, is SGA good. That's a real debate. Who has been better this season, SGA or De'Aaron Fox? That is a true debate. You can leave that in the comment section below because I want to know all of your guys' opinions. Man, this guy has been so much fun to watch this season. But look, it is a pick'em. I'm riding with veterans. I'm riding with Nikola Jokic. I'm riding with Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon in this squad. I'm riding with a team that has seen a Western Conference Finals, that has seen a playoff berth in the last 5 years. I like that a lot, so I'm going with that 100%. Next up, we have it's reloading here because I keep getting phone calls. And I'm going to run this show down here quickly now in these last few games. You have the Pelicans as 7-point favorites over the Spurs. I'm taking those points. I'm taking -7. I am the New Orleans Pelicans taking 7 here. The Detroit Pistons, it's just so many points. You have to take the points. It's too many. +12 against the Utah Jazz. They just showed what they can do last night. I like them +12 here in Utah. And then the Los Angeles Clippers are 10-point underdogs to the Golden State Warriors. It's a lot of points, guys. But they have nobody. Kawhi, Paul George, both those guys are out. I believe even John Wall is out. It is what it is. That's going to be your NBA Best Bets segment. The Sacramento Kings face off against the Atlanta Hawks tonight. plus 4.5. I'm going to keep that beam lit. Are we going to keep that beam lit? Light the beam. I sure hope so, man. It's way more fun to talk about this Kings team when they're winning rather than when they're losing. And unfortunately, I've seen way too many losses. So I like seeing this win, and I hope it continues on. I want to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving, a happy holiday season here. Enjoy time with all of your guys' family. If you haven't done so already and you're new to this show, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button. Keep this show growing. Keep it alive. Share it. You guys can follow me on all social media platforms of @VMCenter. I think it would be that side. This side. Whoop. Yeah, @VMCenter. The website, sacktownroyalty.com. Book that for all of your in-depth coverage of the Sacramento Kings. We are sponsored by RateCrushers.com. This is the Kings Court Podcast. Light the beam. I appreciate every single one of you for listening in on the show. And until next time, Sacramento Kings fans,